The laughter was still ringing when I realized none of them expected me to answer back. Not really. I was meant to swallow it, play along, pretend it didn't cut. I watched the wine catch the chandelier light while their jokes scraped against my patience like dull knives, and I stayed quiet, calm, silent, dangerous, because I already knew something they didn't. The dining room looked like a stage, overdressed, loud, desperate to impress itself. Polished marble table, too many glasses for anyone who pretended to be humble. Candlelight flattering the wrong people. My wife's sister's boyfriend sat at the head like he'd earned the seat, a smug performance wrapped in an expensive suit. His watch gleamed every time he lifted his hand to gesture as if it needed applause. My wife angled herself away from me, embarrassed to breathe the same air as my supposed failure. Her sister leaned close to him, fingers on his arm, like she was clinging to success, or its costume. The first cut was small, a joke about men who never become anything. It grew sharper, comments about real ambition, real money, real men. He said my job didn't count. Everyone laughed. My wife didn't defend me. She just whispered, "Stop making the family look bad," as if my existence was the problem. She didn't notice how my silence changed. She didn't see the chill settling in. There was a time she looked at me differently, back when our life wasn't measured in other people's standards, back when love wasn't performance art. But slow contempt is patient. It grows in half smirks and tired sighs, in comparisons, in shame disguised as concern. And eventually she stopped standing beside me. She learned to stand beside whoever looked shinier. I didn't stop loving her. I just stopped trusting the woman she chose to become. The boyfriend wasn't success. He was noise, a self-advertised miracle, investment genius, global consultant. He loved big words that meant nothing. He talked about deals he never closed, companies he never worked for, cities he'd never seen outside Instagram filters. I'd seen men like him before. Inflated confidence always leaks. So I watched him. I listened, and slowly things didn't match. Names dropped wrong, timelines bent, titles shifted depending on who was in the room. He bragged too hard about how corporate security trusted him. That one caught my attention, the kind of lie that leaves a fingerprint. So I did what quiet men do best. I paid attention. A name, a company, a claim repeated too confidently. I started pulling threads. Background checks, public records, industry databases, conversations with people who actually work in the world he pretended to own. It didn't take long. The truth wasn't hidden, it was just ignored, because people love believing in shiny stories. He wasn't rich, he wasn't hired, he wasn't successful. He was a professional parasite, fake contracts, stolen pitch materials, debt, legal warnings, a trail of women he charmed, squeezed financially, and abandoned. He wasn't a man with money, he was a man hunting people desperate to be associated with it. So I waited. Tonight, when the last joke landed and they leaned back satisfied, he started talking about his new role. He bragged like he was invincible. He thought he owned the room. And that's when I took out my phone. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't change tone. I just tapped a file and placed it on the table. Silence is heavier when it collapses a room. The email from the company's legal department, the fraud advisory warning with his picture, the press release naming an ongoing investigation, testimonies, screenshots, evidence, layered, cold, undeniable. His voice died first, then the smiles. My wife's sister's hand slipped off his arm like she'd touched fire. My wife whispered my name, but it wasn't anger anymore. It was fear, shame, realization. He reached for the phone, but I slid it away. Not fast, just deliberate enough to remind him he didn't control anything anymore. I told them I'd already contacted the authorities, that the company wanted cooperation, that he should expect a call. He laughed like he wanted to, but the sound broke halfway. He tried to talk his way out, but lies collapse violently when truth finally arrives. He left in a hurry, looking smaller without an audience, and in that vacuum of silence, nobody laughed anymore. Afterward, my wife cried, not for him, for herself, for who she'd chosen to be, for the moment she realized she stood on the wrong side of me. I didn't console her, not immediately. Some lessons need to burn. Justice isn't loud, it doesn't scream, it simply arrives, calm, precise, and undeniable. They mocked me because they mistook silence for weakness. They forget silence is just patience waiting for the right moment to remove the mask. And when the mask falls, the room never feels warm again.